Hello, welcome to the video. Without further ado, let's get into the content. We're going to be talking about skill points and attributes. As long as you understand your attributes and what these skill points are, you can customize any character in the game the way that you want to, as long as you understand the fundamentals. I assure you, you do not need to watch multiple videos into a specific class of how to build your character, as long as you understand what I'm about to demonstrate. In your talent tree, which would be here, of your skills, in other words, let's designate this as one of the branches and specializations for a particular skill. These are abilities that you'd have in game. As these attributes on the side, which are essentially stats that are applied to your hero, whatever your archetype is in the game, this will be essential to you to know. Every point in strength is going to be applied to physical and striking attackers. We know that because critical strike damage and chance is applied to physical attackers only. The difference is, if you're a caster, you're primarily gonna have as a damage output a spec. You're gonna prioritize the stat intelligence, whereas we're gonna specialize in strength for the melee and striking classes, especially those capable of dexterity. This is gonna increase your attack rating. You're gonna hit frequently. You're gonna hit more critical damage. And you're gonna be able to proc those physical attacks to incorporate and get the benefit from that stat attribute. Again, your casting here, you do have some casting on melee classes. Sometimes, even though your archetype is physical and melee, so you're gonna go and you're gonna possibly want to append some intelligence to a particular ability, which will overall help anything that's going to be a casting, non-physical striking ability. Unless otherwise stated in your ability that there's an exemption, intelligence applies to casters, strength, dexterity primarily to those who are capable of melee and striking. Energy is applicable to everybody. It doesn't matter what class archetype you've chosen to start your campaign, begin your adventure with, or where you're at currently in the story or difficulty. All your skills, regardless if they're casting or physical or not, ranged or melee, are going to have some sense, usually with energy. So they're going to synonymously be used with energy cost associated, unless otherwise stated that it is a passive ability or such. These abilities do not require you to use or activate them in order for it to happen like others do. Armor is important to everybody, but armor is not necessarily in terms the best thing for you as it would be for, say, a individual who is going to be a marauder or a tanking class that would like to really stay in the front lines of the DPS and soak up that damage per second. But you do benefit from enhanced damage, from damage qualities itself. Across the spectrum, everybody does. Vitality is health points, your regenerativeness, you know this. This is your overall survivability. This is your armor and your vitality that's going to make you sustain in a fight, be able to take a blow and continue fighting, so you don't have to respond, and it's less likely that your health points are going to be taken down to zero. That is essentially all you really need to know about stats in order to know where those attribute points should go at this point. You could have picked a demon spawn, you could have picked Jotun, you could have picked whatever you wanted, an archer, you could have made anything that you wanted. Those are the steps, the fundamentals to keep in mind when you're approaching that attribute stats. In your window for your talent tree, this is really just your independent strategy, what it is that you'd like to do. If you were starting new here, you'd hit reset attributes, reset skills. You start fresh all over again. It doesn't cost you anything ever to reset your attributes, which is here and located on the left side of the window. But the cost goes up a little bit here for resetting your skills on the opposite side of the window. At max level, you'll get 100 points, and you'll get points here left over, which are cumulative, but there is a culmination of points that you get every time you go up one level on your character, which is these white denominations of numbers that are in the sequence of 100 here. And then once you go up a hero level, which is every 5 levels, you'll get another point that you could use in this tree. You click it and you affirm that that was what you wanted to build, and you would pay a cost for it. Currently, it doesn't cost you anything to reset it. Nothing's in this window. And you'd have nodes that would increase specific stats that were going to be of interest to you. The last segment of this video is to reiterate that before you spec all your points into, say, one particular aspect of the game, I'll demonstrate for you. If I were to say put all these points into armor all over the place, into intelligence, into dexterity, figuring this is going to be great for me, I'll just be a balanced character, or this is what the meta video would tell you to do. But then if you're playing situationally, you realize that you're facing your situation heads on, you're playing situationally, you may come here to the window, respec just for that specific matchup, whoever you're facing. You might want some extra resistances. Maybe you're up against Anubis or someone like that. So you won't use the same skills, the same approach to that. You won't have the same distance for the dash. You might want to compensate because close quarters, depending where you're going to be, your distance for transversing in that direction is not going to benefit you to run into a wall. So maybe you want movement speed, not necessarily the distance you teleport. Incorporate your strategies, you strategize, you come up with a sound tactical solution to what you're versed with, and then you would adjust accordingly, setting up your stats or your attribute points, if you will, here on the left side of the window. You'd go into your window here and you'd branch off and you'd decide, well, what skills and abilities do I want to really specialize in here? Why do I do that? What are the mana costs associated with it? But if I were to, again, with my original point here, in the last understanding, if I just kept spelling points into energy, just kept doing this, I need energy, don't I? All the abilities, I thought I did. What if I just put a lot of points into energy? Right? But what you realize is all those points into energy, right? I could put over 100 points into energy. But you won't realize until you leave that for the last step. You go here and you'd say, okay, well, I want to practice some abilities, and I realize that without even putting in a single point into that energy for mana regenerativeness or overall mana, that I'm good where I'm at now. That would have been 100 points, 50 points, 10 points that I could use in intelligence or my dexterity or strength to increase my damage output overall. I could have maybe spec'd a better ability in my skill sets so that I was capable of taking advantage of certain compound damages, maybe bleeding debuffs, buff effects, certain synergies that I'd have with abilities or bonuses if I'd went a different route on the branches of the talent tree for those specific points that you want to assign. And you see, my mana is stable. I didn't put into this build a single point into mana. So I would have not really been using mana. But why is that? Is it just because, we're good at doing that? Well, we've compensated with gear and things that we have. Maybe this charm that you got in your loot, you don't think it's really nothing because, hey, it's a tier C. But there's a lot of useful stuff in the game. You just kind of want to hold on to a variety of things in your inventory that you may or may not need later, depending on your matchup and what situation that you're in. Maybe you need some gloves on the spot that give you that mana. Maybe you just want some life stolen per hit, or maybe you want a faster hit recovery, or some increased defense, or some movement speed if you're in close quarters, depending on your dungeon or the scene of the biome you're currently on. And you'd realize, as you're equipping gear and you're going through these benefits, you have a few things with you occasionally that you need when you need to, switch to it and alter your gear and kind of have another weapon, maybe, or another stat that's preferable. So whatever your preference is, maybe you'll have another weapon here. Usually when leveling, you'll think, well, I don't need that, or I'll just wait for another better weapon. You just kind of want to equip what you can in the beginning and utilize it and make good and make use of it, make it useful to you in the meantime. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to watch the video. If you're interested in a specific video, again, like I said, as long as you understand these fundamentals, you can build your character on your own. And it's my personal opinion that in every game that you play, the best loot is the loot that you pick up, and the strategies, the best ones, the ones that you devise and you actually take on a one-on-one situation. If you're playing situationally, you'll get better at the game, you'll get the spirits that you need, you'll be honing your skills, and overall you see better outcomes once you know how to adjust to certain fights. Use the information at hand to your disposal and do what you will with it. Make sure you're building correctly. Leave the energy for the end of your build after you've set some skills in your window. Make sure that you're triggering points where they need to and you're not misplacing them unnecessarily. You understand the differences between casting, physical attackers, critical strike damage, the attributes and the stats that there are, and just take that into consideration once you're incorporating that into your personal strategies. Whatever intellectual properties you'd like to prefix to your gear and attribute to your overall situations and to approach the game with. I wish you the best of luck. I hope to see you in Hero Siege. Until the next time, I'll see you in future content.